So we have the new interim head coach at Cornell, Connor Buczek, joining us. Connor, just first off, you have showed up, I believe, probably around 2011 there at Cornell, and you just really haven't left. In order to kind of climb the steps that you have, and now to even in interim capacity be leading this program, what does that mean?
It shows how much this program means to me. I think when I got here, I wasn't quite sure I was in the right place. It's a difficult place, challenging place. I faced my first real obstacles here, and overcoming those, at the beginning, and then going on to have a pretty good career here, and then moving on to the assistant coach role and into the head coaching role has been, I've matured here. It's made me a man, and certainly a place that I owe a lot to. So I'm really excited to continue to be such a big part of the day-to-day here.
Obviously, it's probably a pretty big shock when Peter Millman leaves, because you guys had established something great there, but obviously jobs like Johns Hopkins don't come up very often. Just how did you digest that news, and then walk us through the process really of probably what's been a wild week?
Yeah, it all came about pretty quickly. I think it's only Wednesday morning, and it's been a long week. But getting the call on Sunday afternoon from Peter and hearing his news, we were excited for him and his family. And obviously, there's opportunities that you have to take care of your family and make sure that everybody is comfortable with the situation. So moving forward, we wish him nothing but the best. But then from there, it went to be a pretty quick process. We got in touch with our administration and had some phone calls over Sunday evening and into Monday morning, and they told us, really how supportive they were of what we were building and where we were going and the direction this program was heading. And so they made it very clear to myself and Jordan Stevens that they wanted us on board for the long haul and to continue the progress that we were making. And so that show of support and confidence by them was incredible. They did what they needed to do, and less than a day, I guess, later, had us in these roles and has this thing intact moving forward, hopefully full steam ahead.
You obviously didn't play when Peter Millman was the head coach there, but you really came up under him in terms of being elevated to that full-time assistant and kind of learning the ropes there. What has he done for your career?
I've learned a ton from Peter. He's been a guy that's, mentored me from my time as a volunteer and just starting my coaching career, up until this past season, where, he's been the guy that I've been able to model a lot of how I do things off of and bounce ideas off of. And I think he's an incredible lacrosse mind. I think he does a great job helping his assistants grow and encouraging them to grow. And then from there, really forcing them to be head coaches in their roles and allowing them the leash really to go out and do their own thing, but all under his guidance, and how to manage the relationships with the team, which is the bigger part of this job. And so he's taught me a ton, and I'll forever be grateful for the opportunity that he gave me and the mentorship that he gave me.
In a normal time, you being named the interim head coach of this team would be overwhelming, and there would be a lot to do. We're in the middle of a pandemic where you can't just call everybody in for a team meeting. We should be in the middle of a playoff run. Instead, it's technically the off season. How do you attack what you're going through right now, and how are you trying to figure out the steps that you need to take in order to keep everything in order?
Yeah, we're just trying to take care of one thing at a time. There's a million different ways that this thing can go, and a million different people to reach out to and to touch base with. It starts with our players first. Excuse me. Really, those are the guys that we got to make sure are feeling comfortable with the situation and comfortable with where we're heading and comfortable with, all that's transpired over the last, 48 hours, really. And so we're continuing to work through that process and doing whatever we can to make sure those guys feel comfortable. Then there's their parents, recruits, their parents, alums. And so we're just trying to make sure we cover all our bases, touch base with all those, really pertinent stakeholders in our program, and make sure they understand the direction that we're going and the excitement that we have for that direction.
You speak about excitement. You guys were having one of the most exciting seasons we've seen from Cornell in quite a while, since maybe some of the years that you were playing on this team. How has the team digested that, and how do you try to use that as you look ahead to hopefully a much smoother 2021?
Sure. I think everybody's excited, with the way the world's going right now and so much craziness going on. generally in the environment, but specifically to our program. You know, losing the season, and then we had a key member of our training staff pass away, who's been a mentor to all of us shortly after, and then obviously Pete's departure. You know, it felt like so much was negative, but finally we feel like things are starting to look up, and we're starting to prepare and start to gain some excitement, and things are back on track heading towards the 21 season now.
I had a chance to talk to Peter Millman a couple of times as we were leading up to a couple of games of yours that we did here on LSN. And every time we talked about you and Jordan Stevens, he said, there's nobody better to kind of share this program and tell people about this program than you guys. How do you use the fact that you haven't left? You played here, you grew up as a volunteer assistant, and now an interim head coach. How do you use that to your advantage in terms of selling what Cornell can be?
Sure. It's a place that means the world to me. Obviously, coming in here 10 years ago and still being in the seat shows just how much it meant to me. And certainly, I'll be forever grateful for the lessons I learned and the time that I spent maturing here. And, I had an incredible experience both as a player and now on the coaching side. So, when talking to families or, even our own guys, the goal in mind is to make sure that they have that same experience that I did and they feel about Cornell Lacrosse as I do. Obviously, me sitting in the seat now tells you, pretty clearly how I felt about my time here, how I continue to feel about the program. And the same goes for Jordan. He's doing the exact same thing, feels the same way. And so our goal is to make sure that every player on our roster has that same experience and feels the same way about Cornell Lacrosse.
So obviously it's a difficult time in terms of you attacking this next year because you don't know what the future is after 2021. I guess none of us really do. But when you have an interim title and you try to attack this year, how do you look at it? Do you look at like you've got something to prove? How do you try to attack this year knowing there's an interim title that I'm guessing you'd probably like to turn to a head coaching role completely?
The beauty of Cornell Lacrosse is the formula doesn't change year to year. There is Cornell Lacrosse, and it's been the same Cornell Lacrosse that we've known for years and years. It was the same when I came here, and it's a tried and true method here. We just want to play a brand of Cornell Lacrosse that makes us proud. We want to uphold the standard. There's an incredibly proud tradition at a place like Cornell, and I think it's an exciting opportunity to continue to uphold that standard from another position. I've done it in so many different roles in so many different capacities, and Jordan has done just the same. Having him standing next to me, leading this thing with me, makes me incredibly confident in what we can do. And it's a familiar place for us. I felt, the similar pressure as a player, as a captain, as an assistant coach, and now in my current role as head coach. I think the standard doesn't change, and as long as we can continue to encourage these men to be the best version of themselves every single day and to compete how the Big Red competes, we're going to be just fine.
Connor, well-deserved opportunity for you. We appreciate the time. Good luck as you try to tackle this thing. We'll catch up again soon.
Sounds good. Thanks so much for having me.